There was a big flap yesterday about Acosta being forced to resign as labor secretary in Trump's cabinet. The story not mentioned, and I think it's perhaps the most important one, is what happened at the UN? Well, and how does that relate? Well, it relates in this way. In the new structure of the tweet world and the email world, less is required operationally. I know that in my own business. So the point is that when Nikki Haley, who I think is an outstanding person and certainly to be respected, who was governor of South Carolina, a cooperative person with both parties, when she resigned after doing yeoman duty at the UN, principally getting yelled at and responding. You could say she did other things, but she was good at sticking up for the people that put her in position, which was Trump and the GOP, and she was good if you think America should stick up for itself. She did all that properly. And what's interesting is when she left, it was like her sense of she did her job and she moved on. The subtle point, and I was watching it because I wondered about it, as many people did, I think she thought the job was done. Well, she left, and the job was not filled. And what's interesting about it is the only thing that seemed to happen by not filling the job was that America didn't get yelled at in the UN because there was no ambassador to yell at. Now, maybe America should get yelled at, maybe not. People have different opinions about that subject, but the point is we weren't. Then, of course, one has to think, do we really need that job? So Trump picked a fairly safe ambassador to Canada who did supposedly a decent job and said, okay, we'll put her in. Well, the Congress did not approve it yet. It's still kind of in that situation in the middle of being approved or not approved. The point is, do we need the job? Do we need that function in a tweet economy? Can we do just fine without it? I think that's one thing that people in business learn when there's a layoff or somebody quits, or I've had a walkout back in the day. And what was interesting to me is one of the reasons people walked out and did that sort of thing is they were worried that their jobs would disappear. Well, they made them disappear and they were never replaced. Now, obviously, they weren't doing or making things. They were involved in an overhead that was no longer necessary. I think they might have seen it. I didn't. And after they left, I decided, well, I don't need that. And this was in 1998, quite some time ago. But that was the beginning of the internet age, if you recall. So things became simpler, more doable, and so forth. Well, Acosta is in that situation. Do we need a Secretary of Labor in the cabinet? Well, George Washington got on fine without one, so probably we don't. And the absence of it calls into question lots of government roles. Do we need it? Is it necessary? And that's good because the American people pay for all this, and every reduction in force is a savings to the government. People say it isn't that much, but a penny here and a penny there add up. So it's an interesting thing for you to think about. It's an interesting thing for you to watch. Watch to see what happens in this downsizing. As people quit, they're not replaced. It's like toll takers. As they left, they weren't replaced. And now in Massachusetts, we don't have any, don't need any. And the state makes 26% more money because they don't have that infrastructure. That's kind of good. As taxpayers, if we're going to pay a toll, it's nice to see that it goes to the government, not to people trying to get the money for the government. So that's a big opportunity in society. It's a great way to balance the budget, reduce costs, and make sure the taxpayers' money is spent appropriately. So think about that. It's not whether it's good or bad, but it's whether it's a good idea to save the money or not? Thank you from Simply and Diva Brown.